Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Zatin Nadira binti Muhammad Zakir, S5067. In my part, I will summarize the case. Firstly, for the company background and introduction. Siketang was founded in 1932 as a shop unit in Singapore by a Chinese immigrant. Siketang gradually expanded its retail business over the years, where Siketang made the visionary decision to acquire land at the Orchard Road and locate the landmark Tan's department store there. Singapore was equally the most popular retail shopping destination in Southeast Asia. More retail outlets, especially store-based retailers such as Siketang that sold luxury and international brands, were located in the central region such as the Orchard Road shopping belt. As part of its succession planning in 2006, Siketang's founding family decided to take the company private. The Tan brothers, who represented the controlling family, initiated 3 attempts to delist the company. In 2009, the third delisting attempt was successful, with an exit offer of 83 cents a share. Upon successful delisting, the family had 96% of the share, while the minority shareholder held on to the remaining 4%. During the 2011 exercise, the Tan family offered to cancel the remaining share held by minority investors at $1.30 apiece, which price then was a 27% premium to the company net asset value in 2011. In May 2016, the Tan brothers formed the company founding family, sold their majority share in Siketang Limited, now known as the Siketang, which is a Singapore retail icon, to Tan Holding for 34.967 cents a share. The Tan brothers, which are Tan Win Soon and Tan Wee Kit, justified the decision as a move to complete succession planning. Having acquired more than 30% of the share, Tan Holding was acquired under the Singapore Code on takeover and mergers to make an unconditional offer to all the shares. Tan Holding then made an offer of 35 cents to buy out the remaining shares that it did not already own, which represented the 5th official buyout offer to minority shareholder and 70% discount to Siketang net asset value of the $1.47 per share as at 29th February 2016.
Hi, doctor and my fellow friends. My name is Winnie. Now I will continue to related issue. There are 2 issues for this case. The main issue for Tan Holding is the minority highlighted that the reported fair value of the flagship Tan Plaza and freehold land complex understated and best use and might not comply with IFRS 13. Siketang's current use of a non-financial asset is presumed to be its highest and best use unless market or other factors suggest otherwise. According to the company financial statement as at 31 March 2015, it carried its freehold property at fair value, with change in fair value being recognized in other comprehensive income. Tan Plaza was valued by Jonas Lang, a firm of professional valuers, at 489 million Sing dollar, according to its existing use as a shopping mall. However, Tan Plaza was valued at 476 million Sing dollar, according to its existing use as a department store as at 29 February 2016. Besides that, we also found that the historic cost of freehold property was 66,183,000 Sing dollar at 31 March 2015. Besides, we found the next issue is the minority shareholder disagree the offer to their share due to the below net asset value of the company. It is because, having acquired more than 30% of the share, Tan Holding was required under the Singapore codes on takeover and merge to make unconditional offer for all the share. Tan Holding then made an offer of 35 cents to buy out the remaining share that is not already owned, which represent the 5th official buyout offer to minority share and at 76% discount to CK Tang net asset value of $1.47 per share as at 29 February 2016. However, the AGM concluded with the minority shareholder rejecting the offer to offload their share to Tang Holdings. The minority shareholder of CK Tang were unhappy that the offer price was way below the net asset value of the company. After August 2016, an attempt by Tang family to buy out the remaining share of CK Tang, minority shareholder owned approximately 1.7% of CK Tang. The Tang family 2016 offer of 35 cents per share to buy out the remaining share constitute an 83% discount to the offer of $2 made in 2011. During the 2011 exercise, the Tang family offered to cancel the remaining share held by minority investor at $1.30 apiece. A piece then was a 27% premium to the company net asset value in 2011. So move to the ethical dilemma for the main issue. The dilemma arises due to this issue when Tang Holdings stated the value of freehold land is 476 million Sing dollar instead of 489 million of Sing dollar. So there are two types of value of freehold property, which are current value and market value. This can bring the issue mainly is the value of flagship Tang Plaza and freehold land complex 489 million Sing dollar or 476 million Sing dollar. As we know that the market price for freehold land should be higher than the leasehold land. In this matter, freehold land tends to be owned by Tang generations until forever, except when the government has a compulsory acquisition for the betterment of the country. In this case, the Tang Holding did not fulfill the IFRS 13, which are fair value measurement on their financial report. So now, what is IFRS 13? As general, it is to define fair value to set out in a single IFRS a framework for measuring fair value and require disclosure about fair value measurement. It is a guide on how to set the fair value, not when to apply fair value, IFRS 9. IFRS 13 defines fair value as the price that would be received to sell an asset or pay to transfer a liability in an orderly transaction between market participants at the measurement date. The assumptions is Tang Holding understated the true value of the freehold property because Deputy Chairman assumed the market value of the freehold land and building is not relevant because it was meant for existing user and not a hypothetical situation. So Tang Holding did not fulfill the IFRS 13 and not complying with the IFRS 13 that did not fulfill faithful representations. This made the Tang Holding understated the net asset value when the fair value of the freehold property is understated. Besides that, based on the IAS 16 property, plant and equipments, we know that recording the freehold property can be recorded in cost method or revaluation method. That is quite similar to fair value with revaluation based on market value. According to the notes of the financial statement, the historical cost of freehold property is 66,183,000 Sing dollar. So should Tang Holding record the freehold property in cost method or remaining in revaluation method? Furthermore, the ethical dilemma for the majority and minority of shareholders. In a public listed company, there are maybe literally hundreds of shareholders, all in the minority. The characteristic of majority is they have voting power. Voting share give shareholder permissions to vote on different corporate decisions such as who should be the board of directors and who hold more than 15% of shares in the company. The characteristic of minority shareholder is anyone has owned less than half of the share and has rights that can include the declaration of the derivative action or fraud. According to Section 216 of the Company Act, protection is given to the minority shareholder right to be treated fairly against majority abuse. So that's all from me.
Hi, I am Shahmi Nazaruddin S50252 and I will present the position part. We had mentioned that our main issue for this case is the minority highlight that the reported fair value of the flagship Tang Plaza and the freeholds is complex, understated and best use and might not comply with IFRS 13. So what should Tang Holding do? Firstly, we need to determine the valuation of freehold property. So that to determine the valuation of freehold property, we must review whether this asset had fulfilled the IFRS 13 standard or not. And by using the standard of IFRS 13, they must determine the fair value measurement for the freehold property that fulfills the criteria, which first, determine the asset or liability that is to be measured that consistently with its unit of account. Second, determine the valuation premise that is appropriate for the measurement. Third, determine the principal or most advantages of the asset and liability. And lastly, determine the appropriate valuation technique for the measurement. After determining all these criteria, Tang Holding may use several valuation techniques to decide the valuation amount. And there are three possible valuation techniques in the standard exist, which are first, the market approach. The market approach uses prices and other relevant information generated by market transaction involving in identical or comparable asset like liability or group of asset and liability. Second is the cost approach. The cost approach reflects the amount of that would be required currently to replace the service capacity of an asset. And lastly, the income approach. Income approach is to convert future amounts, cash flows or income and expenses to a single current discounted amount that reflect current market expectation about those future amounts. When apply one of these techniques, observable inputs need to be maximized and unobservable input should be minimized. And in this case, Tang Holding records the freehold property under unobservable input because there is no observable input for freehold property in the market. And based on the note of financial statements, the freehold property at the category level 3 input changes in the yield, discount rate, and capitalization rate. And this means that the freehold land valuation and the building are generally sensitive to the changes in yield, discount rate, and capitalization rate. A significant decrease or increase in yield, discount rate, and also capitalization rate would result in the significant higher or lower fair value measurement.
Hi, I am Albert Kai, S50423. I will continue to the next part based on ISA 16, that property, plant and equipment. We know that recording of the freehold property can be recorded in the historical cost method or reversion cost method that is quite similar to the fair value with relation its value to the market value. The notes of a Tang Holding financial statement show that their freehold property historical cost with 66,183 Singapore dollar during 31st March 2015. To determine the position of a CK Tang valuation of a freehold property, we need to know the pros and the cons of both methods. The fair value method or the reversion method can bring more information to the financial statement. This means that the fair value accounting method requires Tang Holding to disclose comprehensive information about the valuation technique that result in its financial statement. Other than that, the fair value method provide a precise estimation. This can provide more precision in terms of the current estimations. Lastly, the fair value method is the most accepted typically accounting practice. The fair value method can help the precise value of the freehold property always considered with the market due to the monetary inflation. However, there are some criticisms to highlight in using the fair value method. First, it diminishes investor satisfaction. Some investors do not always realize that the company is using the fair value method. In this case, the minority shareholder realizes when net income is recorded less than it should be. There is a higher outsourced valuation to detect which part of a financial entity has been manipulated. Other than that, the source of evidence to approach the valuation method always ambiguous. That is possible that sometimes the observable value of the asset is the market is not symptomatic of the asset basically value. Therefore, having a fair value approach is sensitively impaired when there is not consensus between agent and principal. If a time holding implies the historical cost, there are some advantages by using this approach. Historical cost is less subject to the set fluctuations. Historical cost represent the actual price of an asset. The historical cost trust basically comfortable and will minimize the risk of the manipulate by the manager. Besides, historical cost persists test over time. Most users of the account data believe the account numbers are useful and that is constituted a determinant of the practice and shape decision maker. However, historical costs also cannot escape the criticism that to come mainly from the proportional of the fair value accounting. The historical costs have usefulness, but it is insufficient for the assessment of the commercial decision. The focus of the traditional accounting on the short function of the accounting is not only focused on the activity. Besides, we realize that the main role of the accounting is to meet the deserve of the users of accounting information. Accordingly to the McNeil 1962, historical cost accounting is unreliable. Most of the major fraud that traditional accounting figure used to the mislead investor and creditor to invest their money. Besides, the traditional oriental accountants were not consulted about checking documents for historical costs than the original current physical reality and valuations. Hence, the historical cost model implementations can be ambiguous, as a fair value method means that it cannot promise the quality of a fairness and thoroughness within the information it carries. In short term, time holding is fairly the dilemma or whether to imply the IFRS 13 or stated the historical cost due to both methods still can giving the quality of a reasonableness and dependability inside the information it carries. That's all for me.
In terms of the related issue with the main issue, the majority shareholder may need to seek the approval of those minority shareholder to pass the decision. In this case, a minority shareholder who disagrees can be a challenging. So there are two options for major shareholders to solve this problem. Firstly, they can speak to the minority shareholder. To communicate well with the minority shareholders to get the information and expectation from them to make a consensus decisions and plans. Second, consider alternative dispute resolution. In this first step, it will likely to be tried to negotiate a satisfactory outcome. And if it does not work, the next step may be to meet with a third-party mediator who will try to help majority achieve a satisfactory outcome. However, there are three options for minority shareholders to seek redress. First, call a general meeting. A general meeting can be called by shareholders, and provided they make up to 5% of the company's voting rights. So this can be used as an opportunity to discuss concern and air grievance before further action needs to be considered. Second, relying on a shareholders' agreement. A shareholders' agreement will bind the company shareholders to act under these terms and may contain protection for minority shareholders. And lastly, unite in the minority shareholders. Minority shareholders should act as one to make sure their petition, complaint, and argument being heard. If not, from the company can be escalated to the regulatory bodies to make entity concerned about the issue. And all these underlying efforts will obtain the information whether to imply or not the standard. Therefore, in obtaining the quality of trustworthiness between agent and the principals, Tang Holdings must be paying concern for their minority shareholders also. And by this effort, Tang Holdings can get a clear decision in choosing their best position to solve this issue.
My name is Chow Chun Ho, S50293, and I will continue the best or alternative position of the right of Tang Holdings to certify their shareholders. Tang Holdings may use the standard of IFRS 13 to certify shareholders, especially their minority shareholders. They can separate freehold property to freehold lands and buildings improvements. This approach can be accepted under IFRS 13 because of the second criteria, which is stated to determine the valuation permits appropriate for the measurement. However, other criteria did not affect by this transaction changing due to the implementations of the second criteria, or we can say as the ceteris paribus. In this criteria, based on the IFRS 13 Appendix A, the definition of the highest and best use is the use of the non-financial asset by market participants would maximize the value of the asset or the group of assets and liabilities within which the asset would be used. In this sentence, we know that the asset can be stand-alone basis or combinations with other assets and liabilities as a group. Therefore, in this case, Tang Holdings can combine freehold land and building and its improvement as freehold property, or Tang Holdings can separate these stand-alone valuations of freehold lands and buildings and improvements. We know that the freehold lands is 489 million Sing dollar, consisting of the 448.644 million Sing dollar for freehold land and 40.356 million Sing dollar for the building and its improvements, so that Tang Holdings can record separately with 448.64 million Sing dollar for freehold land and 40.356 million Sing dollar for buildings and its improvements. By implying the IFRS 13, the freehold lands and buildings will be revalued at the market price. Therefore, the revaluation of freehold land property will increase. The surplus of the revaluations of freehold properties will increase the net income. The increase of the net income will increase the number of the dividends paid to the shareholders. The offered buyout price increase at last will satisfy the majority of shareholders. In conclusion, Tang Holdings should be using IFRS 13 to measure the fair value of the freehold property as 489 million compared to the historical cost of 66.183 million Sing dollar in 2015. As the revaluation of freehold property is according to the market price, the surplus of the freehold property revaluations will make the fair value increase. At the same time, using historical cost due to the principle of the conservatism is actually not investor. Based on the case, the majority shareholders did not certify the lower offer buyout price. Besides, the company did not use IFRS 13 to determine the net asset value of freehold property. Once the majority shareholders have been taken more benefit than minority shareholders, is uncertified minority shareholders. Therefore, implementing IFRS 13 show the relevant fair value clarity to shareholders and leads to the consensus between shareholder and management. That's all for my group. Thank you.